Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on the WWL Louisiana News at 4. I'm Devin Bartolotta. Here are today's top headlines. A Mississippi family is desperate for answers. Earlier this week, 18-year-old Nolan Wells was found dead on a small island along the coast. He went missing on the 4th of July, and his parents say they are skeptical about the circumstances that led to his death. And they're now working with high-profile civil rights attorney Ben Crump and pushing for an independent autopsy. Carissa Lawson has more.
What we've been told does not make sense.
The parents of Mississippi teen Nolan Wells now have the Reverend Al Sharpton and civil rights attorney Ben Crump on their side as they try to piece together what happened to their son.
We just want to know what happened and why our baby didn't come home.
On July 4th, the 18-year-old college football player took a boat trip with a group of friends to Horn Island off the Mississippi Gulf Coast, but never returned home.
So hard for me to believe that he would choose to stay on the island. It just wasn't in his character. It wasn't his character.
Wells's mother reported him missing that night. 2 days later, a park ranger found his body in the water on the island's northwest corner.
We refuse to sweep it under the rug. We refuse to just let Nolan Wells' death be in vain.
Wells's parents revealed they tracked down his keys and cell phone at the home of someone who was with him and immediately went to his Snapchat.
When we opened it up, there was nothing. There were no saved pictures. There were no snaps from that day.
Investigators suggest Wells's death was an accidental drowning. They say it sounds like Wells chose to stay on the island and get a ride home with someone else.
What teenager would leave their phone behind if they're going to stay on this island?
His parents remain suspicious, saying their son was involved in some sort of argument that was caught on video and that he would never have left his phone and keys behind. Carissa Lawson, CBS News, New York.
In more top stories, former Orleans Parish Sheriff Susan Hutson has pleaded not guilty to felony charges. Hutson was in court this morning for an arraignment, along with her former chief financial officer, Bianca Brown, who also pleaded not guilty. Hutson faces multiple counts, including malfeasance, filing false public records, and obstruction of justice. Now, this is tied to last year's jailbreak, but prosecutors say the alleged criminal conduct took place throughout her 4-year term as sheriff. The next court hearing is set for September. A judge says the RTA board in New Orleans violated state open meetings laws when it took steps to remove former CEO Lona Hankins. Our partners at NOLA.com report the judge did not reinstate Hankins, but did throw out 3 resolutions the board passed in May. Those canceled Hankins' contract extension, authorized negotiations for her departure, and launched a search for her replacement. The RTA has not said whether it will appeal the decision or take a new vote. Mayor Helena Moreno has pulled New Orleans' request for a $110 million bond proposal. She says it became clear the request was headed for rejection, so the city will instead find another way to make it through the 2026 without the private financing. The mayor says she remains committed to working with state leaders and has requested a meeting to discuss how to move forward. Alyssa Curtis joins us now. Alyssa, we know that there is a lot of tension here between the city and the state. Where are we now in all this?
That's honestly an understatement, but there's been a lot of letters sent back and forth between each other and social media posts over the last 24 hours. Essentially, it started with the governor saying, how is it that one day you need $110 million and the next day you don't? He says essentially he's not trusting the management and the transparency of how the city's finances are being handled. Then Mayor Moreno said, we've made a lot of progress here and we have an action plan. Although it's going to be hard to do that without the bond money, we can push forward. Governor Landry then responded this morning in a tweet and said that there are a lot of questionable things happening, but he says the state is not an ATM for the city and says that no one has done more for the city than he has. So a lot of back and forth. It's very convoluted at this point. But I spoke with pollster Dr. Silas Lee, and he said at this point, the only thing that matters is a way forward because it's getting very messy at this point.
So what do they do from here? Do we know what the next step is?
Mayor Moreno has called for them to kind of get off of the letters, get off of social media and meet in person, especially with the legislative auditor who has been watching the city's finances and the city's progress here. She says, let's go line by line and look at our plan, what we have accomplished, how we move forward here. So we don't know if that meeting has been set yet, but it sounds like there could be something on the calendar soon.
All right. It sounds like the only real way to get anything done with the letters back and forth.
Yes, you have to go through it for sure.
All right. And your full story is coming up at 6 o'clock?
Yes.
All right, Alyssa, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And you can always find the latest updates on this story and all of today's headlines on our website, social media, and on our free apps. Looking ahead now, a heads up for drivers. Beginning today, the southbound Crowder Boulevard Bridge over the Morrison Canal is closed. That is so crews can make emergency repairs. Councilmember Jason Hughes says DOTD needed to close the bridge amid concerns over support beams that may not be structurally sound.
On Wednesday, DOTD ordered an emergency closure because a few of the beams under the bridge are compromised, and so there is a risk that the bridge could actually collapse. And so the safety of the public is tantamount, is vital.
All right, so here's what drivers need to know. Southbound traffic will be shifted onto the northbound bridge with one lane open in each direction. Drivers should expect delays. Make sure you slow down, use caution. The setup will be in place for at least 6 months or until crews get a full picture of just how big of a problem needs to be fixed here. In just a couple of hours, you'll be able to take part in Bastille Day Fête. It's a celebration of all things French from 6 to 10 at the Alliance Française. That's at 1519 Jackson Avenue. You can enjoy food, wine, a costume contest, and more, all to celebrate French independence. Tickets are $15 ahead of time or $20 at the door. And registration is open now, for the New Orleans Memorial Stair Climb. It's a powerful tribute held every year since the September 11th terror attacks to honor first responders. Here in New Orleans, participants will walk up the Benson Tower on August 22nd, but only 411 spots are open. So if you want to take part, you will have to sign up fast. And you must be a first responder to take part in this climb. If you are not, you can sign up for the Mile of Silence walk, which will be that same day. There are just over 2,500 spots open for that. You can find more information on how to register on our website, wwltv.com.